Hello, hello, hello! It's finally here! It's happening! It's the first episode! Hi! Welcome to Fun, Faith, and Fuckery with Nikki Bailey. I am Nikki Bailey. What? Crazy. Um, I'm so excited to start the show. I'm so excited to have this amazing guest that I have today. Yeah, guys, this is happening. There was a little pandemic-induced procrastination that slowed the process a little bit, but here we are, podcasting, live streaming, talking. Yes. Hey, listen, feel free to comment and chat. If you comment on this video, I can see it in the comment section on my screen. Hey, Danielle Marie, and I might call you out and say hello. Hey, Tamara Berg, it's so good to see you. Thanks for joining me. So feel free to comment. Feel free to be a part of the conversation. If you have questions for me or for my guest, feel free to ask them, and we will do our best to answer them for you. I am so excited to be here. So the first episode of every podcast, we already know, is orientation, right? The first episode of every podcast is about what the podcast is about. And so I'm going to give you guys a little orientation about what this podcast is. Hey, Melanie Vesey. What this podcast is, what it's going to be, and what we're going to create, hopefully together. You'll join me on this journey of fun, faith, and fuckery for the world to make the world, a more fun, more faithful, less fuckery place to live. I think that works. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. So to get started, basically, it's all in the name, right? Fun, faith, and fuckery. It's all there. It's pretty self-explanatory. Most of us have had some kind of fun at some point in our lives. And if you haven't, boo, I'm sorry. That's terrible. You should be having all the fun. But if you haven't been having enough fun, hopefully you'll get some fun from watching and listening to this podcast. You can watch the podcast on Facebook. You can watch it on YouTube. You can listen to it the next day on Apple and Spotify and all the podcasting platforms, Google Play. You can listen to them all. You can listen to it all the next day if you can't make it for the actual stream. And so we're talking about fun. We're talking about faith. If you don't know me already, I have a Master of Divinity degree. I went to Union Theological Seminary and got an MDiv. I am trained to be clergy. Meaning I went to school to become clergy, but let's be honest, I should not be working in nobody church, okay? I should not be. I am not the one. Well, there's only one church I can think of that I'd love to work, and and we're going to be talking to the pastor of that church today. Hey. So faith is a huge, huge, important part of my life. I am a deeply spiritual person, and I'm going to come out right here on the show and say I am Christian plus a little bit of woo-woo stuff too. You never know. There's some crystals in my house. There's sage in here. I'll be smudging. I'll be using my crystals. I got tarot cards. I got all that shit. I love that shit. I love any kind of spiritual shit that there is. It doesn't really matter the faith tradition. If it has anything to do with seeking the divine, I'm involved. I'm interested. I love it. You too, Tamerberg? Yeah, I know. We love that spiritual shit. And it's good fun. And so we're going to be talking a lot about spirituality, about faith. I'm going to talk to people from different faith traditions. I'm going to talk to people who are very spiritual and very religious. And then I'm going to talk to some people who maybe aren't. And I'm going to ask everybody, though, what they believe. And I'm going to find out what they love about the idea of faith. And if they don't love the idea of faith, I'm going to find out why, because I'm fascinated by all things spiritual and all things religious and all things faithful. And then finally, the fuckery. Now look, the word fuckery means all sorts of different things. Did you know that the word fuckery has been around for over 100 years? It is not just from that Amy Winehouse song. The word fuckery has been around since like before the 1900s. So, and it meant a brothel. It meant a brothel, or it means the actual act of having sex. It means fucking. But fast forward 90 years to Stephen King writing a novel and using the word fuckery in the novel, and we find out that it also means bullshit. So when we say fuckery, what we really saying is, what's this bullshit we finna talk about? Now, that's not going to be true for everybody, right? Some of my guests are actually going to talk about sex. Can't wait for that. Sex and spirituality. What? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. I did it. We gonna do it. We gonna talk about sex and spirituality. We gonna talk about all kinds of stuff. But fuckery, that means something for everybody. It'll mean something different for you. I'd love to hear what it means to you. But for me, fuckery is about, you know, just the shit that's happening in the world, the shit that's happening in my life, the shit that is a fuckery. What kind of fuckery is this? Sang Amy Winehouse. Yes, that's my boo. I miss her. Rest in peace, Amy. Anyway, so a little bit more about me. I come from a family of religious people. My dad was a minister. We went to church weekly, every single Sunday. We were in church all weekend. Saturday we had choir practice. Friday night we had youth group. Sunday we were in church all day for Sunday school and worship services. And I love church. And church has always been really helpful for me in helping me. It helped me learn how to feel comfortable speaking in public in front of people. It helped me learn to memorize things quickly because I learned to memorize scriptures very quickly. It helped me develop crushes on closeted gay men because that's what happens in church. You develop crushes on closeted gay men while you loving on some Jesus. We're not even going to get into Jesus' sexual orientation on this show. Ooh, no, I didn't. Did I say something like that? I did. I said it. But we're not even going to talk about it today. That's not today. That's a whole different day. Okay. So I'm super excited to have the show, to have this opportunity to talk to people about the stuff that makes me feel passionate, that makes me feel excited and blessed and happy and joyful. So we're going to get into it. We're going to get into all of that good stuff on this show. The show will be every Thursday night at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And you'll be able to watch it live on Facebook or YouTube, or watch it the next day. And I think I already said this. Seminary is falling in love with uncloseted gay guys. Emily, no, because I fell in love with a ton of closeted gay guys in seminary. So that's really not going to help. But I'm super excited. My guest today is someone that I actually went to seminary with. He is one of my favorite people in the whole world. And the reason that he's my first guest is because he is the pastor of a church in Florida that is my ideal church. It is the church that I would love to go to. I wish I could move it here to California. It's Sunshine Cathedral. And I'm actually going to read his little bio. So Durrell Watkins is the senior minister of Sunshine Cathedral in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He was ordained in 1997 and holds a master's degree in theater, a second master's degree in theology and the arts, and a doctorate degree in congregational studies, because I don't have stupid friends, okay? Everybody I know is a brilliant genius. Thank you. Durrell is the pastor of Sunshine Cathedral. His Sunday morning worship services are seen by over 30,000 people weekly on social media. Durrell says he is queer by God and queer for God. His husband and life partner of 21 years and counting is also an ordained minister. So may I introduce to you, without further ado, my friend, the dear Reverend Dr. Durrell Watkins. Hello.
Hey, we're doing it.
We're doing
it.
And so what? There was a storm that knocked out your internet, but you made it.
10 minutes. 10 minutes before the show. No internet. But then you said, don't panic. Do you have a phone? And I'm like, oh, wait, the phone hotspot. So, yeah,
Yay,
we worked it out.
technology.
Yeah.
I love the technology. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's raining here, but I love that. If I didn't have this, if this wasn't an inconvenience with the internet thing, I would only be loving tonight because I love the sound of rain. That's one of the reasons I love living here in the tropics. But I'm good. I'm with one of my favorite people. I'm talking about some of my favorite stuff, and it's raining out. This is a great day for me.
Awesome. I wish that I could have lived in Florida because you offered me a job several years ago to come and be a pastor on your staff. And I said,
you declined.
No.
My wrist did heal, but
I'm so sorry. You know how much I love you. If I could just pick up your church and move it to a different state.
Yeah.
I love you. I love Sunshine Cathedral, but Florida.
I am in a special bubble of Florida.
You're in a special anti-Florida bubble?
Yeah, I'm in a special bubble in Florida. Yeah. We're just an annex of New York and Philadelphia and Boston and Toronto. But yeah, we're where those people come to end life. And so
exactly. I get that. That makes sense.
We're a bubble.
So I invited you because I love Sunshine Cathedral. I love that you say that you do church differently. What does that mean?
That is actually part of our liturgy. We begin the service every week by saying Sunshine Cathedral is a different kind of church. That's how we identify when you walk in the door. Sunshine Cathedral is a different kind of church. And that's because church for us, ecclesia, to use those words that nobody gives a shit about, but that we are community. We are that koinonia and all that bullshit. We are community, but not a cult. Like a cult, everyone has to believe the same thing. They have to. We're all vegetarian, or we're all believe this about the guru, or none of us do this, or we have to wear these clothes. That's not what church means for us. For church is community where we are constantly expanding our consciousness and where we're supporting each other on our individual journeys. And so about 10% of my congregation is Jewish. We have at least one Muslim member who is a baptized member of our church, but does not identify as Christian. He is a baptized Muslim. We are a queer church. We identify as queer, not just gay friendly, not just gay accepting, not just even mostly gay, but queer church, queer theology, queer biblical hermeneutics. And so we are a queer church. And yet in our queer church, about a fourth of our leadership is straight because they identify. And I believe it was Dr. Cohn who said, the more particular you are, the more universal you are.
Absolutely.
Because when you're living your truth, you're really inviting other people to explore and express their own. And so that's just a very different thing. Jesus is like our primary faith symbol, but we don't tell anybody what their opinion about Jesus has to be. You will hear the Bible in every church service, but you will also hear A Course in Miracles. You will hear the Tao Te Ching. You will hear Broadway show tunes. We are looking for truth in all the ways it can show up. And we're trying to have a good time doing it. And there's just not a lot of rules. When Jesus was asked, what are the top rules? And he said just this: love God and love people. And so that's our blueprint. As we're trying to love ourselves, we're trying to love each other, we're trying to love the God of our various understandings. And if your understanding of God is that I'm not even sure there is such a thing, well, we want you to love that journey, that process of figuring it out and exploring it. And so love is our commandment, and and joy is what we're trying to produce. And so far, so good. So we're not fire insurance. We're not trying to sell anyone a plot in the afterlife. I have no idea what happens when you die, but I know we can help each other make this side of the veil a lot happier.
A lot happier.
And then I assume what's next will work out. We'll be ready for it.
So tell me about that. What do you personally believe about God, the universe, what happens when we die, all that good stuff? What do you believe?
I think, you learn a lot of stuff in graduate school that you then spend the rest of your career trying not to bother with because no one else cares. And so you're just stuck with student loans and for what? But I think we called my worldview panentheism. That which is true, that which is life-giving, that which is really real is in everything. So, panentheism. So that monism is another word I think we learned in theology classes that I believe is really just one thing, really. And if I was a material monist, I would think that matter was the one real thing. But I'm a spiritual monist, so I think spirit is the one real thing. And so we are all part of it. It is in God that we live and move and have our being. I and the Father are one. So I think that the one thing expresses in, through, and as us. We're part of it. Emerson said, I am part and parcel of God. I believe that. So for me, God is, Paul Tillich, the ground of being. It is the thing, and we're expressions of the thing. We are how the thing knows itself, and we are how the thing expresses itself. So since God is, for me, is all there is, God is the ocean, and I am, if not a wave in that ocean, at least a drop in a wave in the ocean. And so what the ocean is, I am, even though in this experience of life, I am not all of the ocean, but all that the ocean is what I am. And so it's pretty, God is what it is. And so I'm part of that. And so my journey isn't trying to get God to like me. My journey is trying to figure out that I really am part of God and learn to live in the joy and the power of that truth.
Ah, that is beautiful. I love that. I once asked Emily Towns, Dr. Emily Towns, who was one of our ethics professors, I once asked her what she believed, and she said, God encompasses all that is.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was like, that's insane. What are you talking about? How is that possible?
And she's Baptist.
She's Baptist, right? How is she believing that? But over time, my own understanding of God has evolved to be very similar to yours. That I am, like Neil deGrasse Tyson says, or maybe it wasn't Neil deGrasse Tyson. Who said we're all made of star stuff? Whoever said that.
I think all the physicists have, because
all the physicists have said it. It's scientifically true that we're all made out of the same material. All that is made out of the same stuff. And so, yeah, it makes sense that all that is would be God. And that's a beautiful way, I think, an inclusive way of incorporating and allowing God to be all that we need God to be. And so I'm I love it, love that idea.
And I super want queer people to hear that.
Absolutely.
If God is all there is, you have to be good. You may not know how good you are. You may not. And if you don't know it, you're not going to act from that knowledge. So yeah, you're going to make all kinds of mistakes. God knows we all have. I enjoyed a lot of them, by the way. But I just really super want people to know that God is the bottom line. God's not going to abandon you ever, because she can't. Because you're part of it. Because you're part of it.
There is no separation.
Not a spot where God is not.
Love that. Not a spot where God is not. I'm using that from now on. I love that. So you identify, your church talks about progressive Christianity. Tell me what progressive Christianity is, because a lot of people think that Christianity is what we see the religious right doing. They think that Christianity is maybe what they grew up with in Black Baptist church, and that's the only way that it can be, that you can be Christian. Some people think Christianity is something that they do, those people who are hateful and wrong and whatever. And then some people think Christianity is what we do because we're right. So what is progressive Christianity?
Well, progressive Christianity is pretty permissive. So I guess you could be a progressive Christian that worships Jesus, but mostly we're trying to set an example of being people who try to follow Jesus. And if you follow the truly monotheistic Jewish first century peasant that Jesus was, worshiping him is probably not really going to come up for you. But maybe it does. I don't tell people. You can do what you need to do. Someone once accused me of offering cafeteria style religion, and I immediately responded, "Oh God, I hope so. I hope so. I hope I'm offering religion where
Chicken King, hopefully."
Yes, I'm hoping I'm offering the kind of religion where you can just walk right past the liver and onions. None for me, thanks. But load me up on that cheesy, ricey broccoli casserole.
Hell yeah.
So that's that. So I think that's what progressive Christianity is. It's a spirituality of choice making and mind changing. I'm always reading and always studying and always meditating and always praying and always talking with people. And so hopefully I am evolving. Hopefully I'm not believing the same things I used to believe. Here's the thing that everyone needs to know. I get excited, so I talk fast. So let me slow down. But this is what I want everyone to know. A belief is a well-rehearsed opinion.
Ooh, say it again. Say it again. For the people in the back.
For those just walking in the room, put your cocktail down. You want to hear this. A belief is a well-rehearsed opinion. And opinions can be changed. And I think that's progressive Christianity, is that we realize, yeah, we believe things, but we believe things because we just have rehearsed these opinions. First of all, 3/4 of them were handed to us when we were vulnerable enough not to know how to even question them. And so we've just rehearsed them over and over. Well, we can rehearse other opinions, and those then will become beliefs. The wonderful thing about beliefs is that we are at choice. We can change our beliefs by changing our opinions. And as you get more information, you will change your opinions. And then as you rehearse that new opinion enough, it becomes a belief. And so I think that's what, instead of telling you, you have to say this creed and this is what you have to believe, we tell you, let's explore and see if our minds change about things. And it's okay if they do. In fact, if you have lived your whole life, if you get to 99 and at the end of 99, you believe the things you believed when you were 6, you failed. Failed. You didn't learn a goddamn thing.
Not a goddamn thing.
So.
I love that. So I want to talk about your book, my favorite of your books, Wrestling with God Without Getting Pinned. This copy does have some lipstick on the cover, but that's just because I read it. I actually literally read it. So, so tell us about Wrestling with God Without Getting Pinned and why you wrote it.
Well, it's actually it's like Luke and Acts. It's a 2-part thing. And so the first one, I wanted to sort of deconstruct and play with some scriptural things. This is not deep exegesis. This is not
it's not deep what?
Exegesis. This is this is not scholarship. You know what I mean? This is not, me tearing apart the Greek and all that good stuff, which thank God we went through all that. But that's not what this is. Although it's informed by all of that. But this is just rethinking and playing with and praying with Bible stories. And a lot of things people have assumed are in the Bible, but really we've put it on it more than we took it out. We eisegeted more than we exegeted, just because those words are now in our head and we can't get rid of them.
I have to show you this comment from Emily Peck McLean. What's up with those seminary words?
Which is her job to teach people, by the way. I hope I didn't out someone. No, she's a brilliant theologian. We know that.
She is a brilliant theologian. But one of the things that we got from seminary was this vocabulary that you can only use with other seminarians.
Exactly. So we act out, because it's like when an adult who only spends time with their babies get to spend time with another adult, and they just go crazy with adult discussion. And so, yeah, we have religious speak that who cares? We even get bored with it, but we have to
when I was in seminary, I called it academic yakking.
Yes. And the high church people are even worse, because they have all that extra stuff about, all the candles and the incense and the cookie and the juice and like all this and all the Tai Chi you do over the table. And so there's all this, so yeah, the higher, the worse it is with all that stuff. So anyway, so this was Bible stuff. And then the follow-up years later was Saved from Salvation, which is theology. So I did a thing on Bible and then a thing on theology, which is basically my spiritual autobiography. And so it's a 2-part thing, really. But the first one was Wrestling with God, and it starts with this story of Jacob wrestling with an angel in the middle of the night, or dreaming that he did, or whatever. And they're struggling throughout the night, and he won't let go. And the angel's like, "Oh, let me go. P.S. You're an angel. Just throw some angel foo on him and walk away.
Blink it away."
Exactly. But anyway, he won't let go. And finally, he says, I won't let you go until you give me a blessing. And the angel's response is, what is your name? I'm not letting you go until you give me a blessing. And the blessing is, who do you think you are?
Okay.
And so I think that is my whole approach to the Bible is, people are sometimes very strange about it. They idolize it. They commit Bibleolatry, where they worship these things that they don't understand, from a culture they've not participated in, from languages they don't speak, from all this thing. And yet it's really their God. Well, I don't have any time for that. But a lot of people who don't have any time for that just give up on it and say, well, it just must be worthless. And I think it's worth wrestling with and playing with. And I'm not letting you go till you give me something. And then the answer is, well, just who the fuck are you? And once you have an answer to that, you have an answer to what to do with this, what to do with the Bible.
Yeah.
And it becomes, for me, it's a completely human book. But for me, Jesus is a completely human figure who shows me that the more you live into your humanity, the more you express divinity. So as I wrestle with this human book and I wrestle with this human figure, the more human I become, and then the more communion I have with the divine.
Love it. That's beautiful. And I think offers a way into the Bible that, especially for people who consider themselves progressive or lefty, we very often, break away from our ideas of the ideas of religion that we grew up with, but we throw away the baby with the bathwater. And there's still some good stuff to be talked about in the Bible. I'm really interested in, people use the story of Lot and the Sodomites as a sort of a negative way, a way of talking about homosexuality and as proof that God condemns gays. But you read that story completely differently. And I would love it if you could give us like the short version of how you read that story. Because so tell us the story in the briefest way, right? Like maybe we could read the entire book, but we won't. Let's do that. But tell us a bit about the Lot and the Sodomites and your read on that story.
And we won't even read Genesis 19, because even that's pretty long, which is the story. But people don't read to the end of the story, though. That's the issue. Like, they don't even read to the end of the chapter, and so they make all of it. And I blame Augustine. When in doubt,
people don't read to the end of their text messages, so they're not going to read.
Right. And I blame Augustine. When in doubt, blame Augustine.
Always.
And but in fact, I honestly do believe Augustine was the first one to suggest that story was homophobic in its origin. It's not. In fact, I believe that chapter's titled, Where are the Wine and Roses? Like, there's nothing about romance or attraction or mutuality, all of which are good, right? But there's no wine, there's no roses, there's no pillow talk, there's none of the fun mating rituals. No, this is a violence thing. So, and in fact, we know that, I don't even know why Gomorrah's in the story. It's all about Sodom. Gomorrah is just like, the tacky suburb that nobody. But so anyway, but let's just say Sodom and Gomorrah. But it's really Sodom. And these people show up in Sodom, and we know it's a sketchy place because here comes Lot and says, "Oh, you can't be out at night, not in Sodom. So come stay with me." Now, hospitality is what it means to be a good person in Scripture. Like there are no walls. You know what I mean? I mean, there are walls in cities for protection or whatever, but you let people in. That's the sign of a good person. Abraham was famous for his hospitality when he wasn't selling his wife into prostitution. So
I'm so mad at you for saying that, but love you at the exact same time. That was beautiful.
Am I lying? But anyway, hospitality is a big damn deal. And so these people are in town, sketchy, hard town. Lot says, "No, you won't make it through the night. Come stay with me." Fine. And they do. Well, Lot is the one good person in town, supposedly, because the town is sketchy. God is going to smite this town. But Lot is related to Abraham. And so Abraham's got the hookup. Angels go to rescue Lot and his family because Lot's a good guy until you read the story. And then Lot is a POS. Lot is not a good guy.
We say the full word on this show. He was a
Okay.
piece of shit. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, like the good guy, invites the strangers into his home to be safe and well cared for. Not too much longer. Knock, knock, knock. And it's every man in town shows up at Lot's door, which means Sodom is the world's tiniest town, or he's got the world's biggest front yard. But whatever. Every man in town, knock, knock, knock. We see you have guests, 2 guys. Throw them out so that we can rape them all night. Like people are going to do to some woman in Judges 19, but never mind. So, I mean, the stories are almost identical, but no one knows that. So anyway, throw them out so we can do horrendous things to them. And Lot says, no, obviously I'm not going to turn my guest over to a rape gang. Get serious.
Obviously.
And so far we're like, yay, Lot. But then he says, I do, however, have not 1, but 2 virgin daughters. They're yours for the asking. Now, if this is a story about gay folks, what a ridiculous offer. Oh, you horny gay man, I got some ladies for you. Know what gay is, first of all, if you're going to, throw shade about it, right? So, but then these are his daughters. P.S. These are his virgin daughters. P.S. These are his virgin engaged daughters. Like every level of how could you be the world's worst parent is current in this one sentence. Take my daughters, please. So they're like, no, we have 0 interest in them. We only want to rape your guests that we could barely even see in the night. But we know, this is what we do. We just rape strangers. And so as they advance on the house, the strangers, turns out, are angels. They throw this angelic taser at them, and everybody is stunned. And Lot and his wife and his daughters, I guess not the sons-in-law or future sons-in-law, but the wife and the daughters, they head out. They're head for safety. The angels say, as you're going, don't look back. But Mrs. Lot, who isn't even given a name in the story, but Mrs. Lot is snatched from her home in the blink of an eye. Silly her actually does look back for 2 seconds. She's turned into a pillar of salt. Screw her. So next, we're in a cave. They can't just be on the run forever. They stop at a cave to spend the night. Just Lot and his 2 daughters. It's been a traumatic course event, of course. And apparently they find the one cave that has a well-stocked bar. Because what had happened was Genesis 19, check me anybody, I'm not even lying. So what happened was they get daddy drunk, and one of them has her way with him. Because they think, we may never leave this cave. And there are no men in this cave other than daddy. So if we're ever going to have children, it's got to be daddy. And
they think that they're never going to see anybody else because Sodom is being destroyed.
Right. So maybe it's the whole world.
Right.
So we better get daddy to bone us. You know what? He's not like that, though. He's probably not going to do that. What if we get him super drunk? Well, I'm thinking if you get someone drunk enough that they'll do that, go against, every inhibition and not even know that you're their daughters, he's probably too drunk to perform. But I didn't write the story. So, when you write the story, you get to make it be how you want
it. Edit it however you please.
Exactly. So one sleeps with him. He gets some rubber lip drunk, sleeps with him. And then the next night, the other one does it. The next night, like he hasn't caught on. So anyway, to be continued, then the next one tears off a piece of dear old dad. And of course, it's ridiculous. It's all very silly, right? And then these children, they get pregnant, they get knocked up first time. And the children they have then are the ancestors of the Moabites and the Ammonites, who just happen to be the enemies of the community that the story comes from. So the whole damn story is a racial slur. It's racist against our enemies. Those people are so vile. Their origins are from incest. Well, who would commit incest? Like, who would have children out of incest? Blah, blah. Well, it just so happens once upon a time there was this guy and he was good, and the angels and the rape gang and blah 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 in the cave, and there it is. So this is a story about how our enemies, about dehumanizing our enemies, which is still used that way, but it's to dehumanize queer folk. Where in the beginning it clearly seems to be a racist slur against our enemies. What is fun about that story is that one of them, one of the mongrel breeds that come from incest are the Moabites. And of course, we'll learn about Ruth, a Moabite, who is an ancestor of Jesus himself. But there you go.
But you're just saying.
And we said we weren't going to talk about Jesus' sexuality, so I won't say if he's gay, straight, asexual, none of that business. But I will say my faith depends on him being a top. In Revelation, the writer says, John says, even so, come quickly, Lord Jesus. So that tells me, Jesus, what are you drilling for oil back there? Hurry up. So Jesus is a top.
Oh, I love Jesus has a top. I love that Christina Guillen said that sounds like a man wrote this story.
Oh, 100%.
I love it.
When there are three women in the story and none of them have names, you know a man wrote the story.
A man had to write that story. Yeah, of course. And obviously a man wrote that story because women are so desperate to get pregnant that they would rape their own father to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I still am amazed that out of all of that, Lot comes out the good guy. The one righteous person.
Which is, you offer your daughters up for some rape, that's some good, as Emily Peck McLean said, that is not a good dad.
That is a terrible, yes. Yeah, Mr. Rogers, he ain't. So.
He's shown up ain't. Durrell, it was so wonderful for you to give us that beautiful, your take on, on a story that we've heard before, that we think we know. And that's one of the things I love about this book is that it takes stories that you think you already know, things that you think you already know about, and gives you another way of looking at it. I love the whole chapter that you did about the book of John. It's called Someone's a Little Full of Himself. Someone's a little full of himself. And it's about how the language and the way that the author of John speaks is so much different in that gospel than the other three gospels. And Jesus is a little arrogant in that gospel. He's a little like, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. Okay, bitch. Penny. Okay. Exactly. I think that you have such a wonderful way of looking at these stories and giving an alternative way to read. And still be able to find the beautiful lessons, the beautiful poetry that's still in the Bible. I love that about your work. Thank you so much for being with us. I want to know what's going on? What are you working on? Where can people find you? Do you have any events coming up? What's happening with you?
We do have so much going on. We do midday prayer on Facebook, noon, Monday through Saturday, Sunshine Cathedral's Facebook page. And so that's just 5 minutes of prayer every day, a different clergy person leading that. Our worship services, our 10:30 service, we have two services on Sunday. It's the second one, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, that is live streamed. So every song, every prayer, every reading, every word of sermon, all in there. And within a 6-day period, up to 35,000 people will have participated in that online. And then on Monday night, we have Christians and Cocktails, 6 p.m. Eastern, where it's just like this. It's this kind of thing, but there's like 6 or 8 of us instead of just 2.
So wait, are you saying that Christians drink cocktails?
Wine, beer, cocktail. Oh, yeah. Well, this thing, we used to do it once a month in a bar, and we called it Theology on Tap. And then in pandemic, we took it online, made it weekly, and called it Christians and Cocktails. So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. And when is that again? Monday nights?
Monday nights, 6 Eastern. So I guess that'd be 3 West Coast.
It ain't too early to start drinking?
It's never too early, never too late. Remember, Jesus' first miracle was at a party. His first miracle was tending bar. So in
turn
Jesus'
water
name.
around.
Exactly.
Gotta love it.
Yep.
And if people want to follow you or Sunshine Cathedral, where would they find you?
Sunshine Cathedral has a YouTube channel, so you can subscribe to that. Sunshine Cathedral has a Facebook page. You can follow that. I'm on Facebook, so you can friend or follow me. Also Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, just all of it, like you have to
all
do.
The places. And all of the information about Sunshine Cathedral and how to find Durrell, Reverend Dr. Watkins, will be in the show notes for this show.
And our website is sunshinecathedral.org. And so that's where you can find out lots of stuff.
Awesome. So are you going to stick around for a few minutes and talk pandemic fatigue with me, or are we saying goodbye to you?
No, let me stick around.
Awesome. So the pandy, as my therapist calls the pandemic, the pandy. Um, the pandy is wreaking havoc on people, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about like how pandemic fatigue is something that they're talking about right now, calling it, saying that, you know, we're sort of getting tired of this, we're exhausted, we're depleting all of our mental resources, and what that looks like is increased levels of anxiety. It looks like increased need for mental health resources, but it also looks like people not following the rules anymore, not wearing masks, not doing those sorts of things. What is pandemic fatigue looking like for you these days?
Um, just the silliness, the silly little thing. I mean, I get that people get stir crazy and that, you know, we need fresh air, we need human contact. I mean, these are basic needs. I know this. And yet people are so self-centered about it sometimes. They're not willing to make adjustments for a year or two, so that we don't have to do this forever, right?
Yeah.
I know you get stir crazy, and I'm hoping what people take from this, because one day we will get back to normal, but maybe they'll be a little more patient or kind or compassionate about people who are stuck in hospitals, or who, you know, we have over policed and over prisoned our populations. So people who, you know, one day we're going to be able to take our mask off and walk around freely, and other people will still be stuck. I hope we can be kinder and gentler and more compassionate with people who were stuck before we all were, and who will be once we all can roam around free again.
Yeah.
So I hope this gives us some, in addition to pandemic fatigue, maybe we can also have some compassion for people who have been isolated and limited for a lot longer.
Yeah, and will remain so. Yeah. For me, pandemic fatigue looks like I am, my anxiety is ramped up, and so what I do when my anxiety is ramped up is catastrophize. So every time my partner leaves the house, I am afraid she's going to get into a car accident. Every time I leave the house, I'm afraid, you know, like, so the anxiety, even catastrophizing this show, I was like, it's gonna be horrible. Everyone's gonna hate me. It's gonna be terrible. None of that's true, obviously. But,
Yeah.
you know, my brain, like, and I think it's because one of the things that I saw in an article, this really great article from Scientific American, is they talked about one of the challenges is that we keep moving the goalposts. We think that there's going to be an end in sight, and there isn't. And so we, you know, they'll tell us here in California, they've told us we're going to be reopening June 15th. And so they've already told us that 7 times by now, right? So at this point, we're all exhausted from just the anticipation of like, when is this going to be over? I've gotten
and they give you dual tracks of information.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're going to open 45 minutes ago, but also there's a whole new strain taking out a continent in this, you know, in India or whatever. Like, there's like, what is it better or worse? I don't even know.
Right. So one of the things that I found that it was really interesting is this really great article from Everyday Health, about what you do to combat pandemic fatigue. And so one of the number one thing is to adjust your expectations. So we kind of thought when we got into this, number one, we thought that this was only going to be 2 or 3 weeks. So adjust your expectations to the fact that this could be the next couple of years until we get this thing under control. But also, like, you don't have to be productive during a pandemic. You don't have to, you know, those people who are saying things like, if you come out of this pandemic without having learned a new skill, you've wasted your time. Adjust your expectations, people. I'm not learning a new skill. I'm trying to stay alive. Okay. Yeah. We had a
pandemic. As Jesus said from the cross, screw you. So.
I really do think that should be added to the 7 last words. We should add screw you. Yes. Right before it is finished, he could just be like, screw you. It is finished. There it is. I love it. Another one that they talked about was adding structure to your days. So for me, that was huge. for most of the pandemic, I wasn't working. I didn't have any, structure to my days. And it gave me plenty of time to catastrophize. It gave me plenty of time to think about all the things that are going to go wrong. And like last year when we were going through all the protests and everything was happening, I was so certain that our house was going to be targeted because there was a Black person who lived here. Yeah, I'm a drama queen and I'm okay with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when you're good at something, you're good at something. You have a theater degree,
Well, one of the ways that I ate my way through pandemic, and I've gained a lot of weight, and I have like body shame anyway. So now it's like all of my like coping, like trying to feel good about myself and saying is like, I'm 54, I get to be fat. You know what I mean? But I'm really seriously, like I eat my anxiety and then I beat myself up because eating has consequences.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing. It's like, wait a minute, people are trying to breathe and you're worried about, some excess weight. That's how my brain works. I'm sorry about it. I'm not loving it either, but
it's true. And a lot of people are having that same, I did a comedy show over the weekend where I asked the audience, like, did you gain weight during the pandemic? And people were like, yeah, I gained weight. And I was like, are you freaking out now trying to take it off? And people were like, yeah, I'm trying to take it off. And I was like, fuck you, relax. Relax. You're fat and happy now. Enjoy it. Welcome to the Fat and Happy Club. Another really great one was get help if and when you need it. And so for me, it was really important. I wasn't in therapy when the pandemic started, but I got back in therapy because I'm sorry, the world was ending, right? So and there's so many ways to get help. It's not just therapy. You can go to your clergy person for support if you are someone who attends a church or another religious organization or what's the word I'm looking for? Organization, religious community.
Oh, I was thinking brothel, but okay.
The show has the word fuckery in it, and a brothel was a fuckery. So
that's the OG. Yeah, the OG fuckery was
a brothel. So there's nothing wrong with that. So basically, you need to find yourself a good brothel. A place where you can be yourself.
Well, wear a mask, for God's sake. We're talking about pandemic here.
Wear a mask and a condom, and you'll be okay. So, I think that the finding help thing is really important. And I want to say that in the show notes, I'm going to include some links and phone numbers for resources for mental health. Because I know that for me, this pandemic has definitely worn down my mental resources to the point where, it was important for me to get on medication and I was already on medication, but to get my medication stabilized and to get some therapy. And one of the things I love, you have like such a great take on psych medication. Tell us your thoughts on antidepressants and psych meds and all that stuff.
Well, first of all, Lexapro, I gobble it like Tic Tacs because I want to feel better. I don't like to be anxious. I don't like to be depressed. At one time, I was on a cocktail. I was on, what was I taking? I was taking a Plinzin, which is like, Wellbutrin on steroids. I was taking a Plinzin with Lexapro with Lunesta, which is a sleep, but like that was part of it. And so, I was like on a big old cocktail and now I'm just down to the one, although they had to double that one, just the Lexapro. But no, that's part of, first of all, the Apostle Paul talks about gifts of healing, not just one, there's lots of gifts. And thank God, I think psychiatry is one of those gifts. Also, as I said earlier, my theology is that God is everything. God is the thing. And so if God is omnipresent, fully present in everywhere and in everything, God's in the medicine. Yeah. And so God is God, well, if you had faith, you could pray. Well, I had faith, and my faith led me to a really great psychiatrist. And now most days I'm in pretty good shape. And on the days that I'm not, I know who to call and how to fix that shit. So, oh yeah, I've always, and not just that, but HIV meds, chemotherapy, pain medicine, whatever sleep aids, whatever it is. Um, we have a saying at Sunshine Cathedral: say a prayer and take a pill. If one doesn't work, the other will. And so I believe in medicine. I do.
I love that. And honestly, it was I have had bipolar 2. I got diagnosed when I was like 20 something, right? So it's been 20 years, but I still have some of the stigma, I still carry some of the stigma and some of the sort of internalized stuff. And when I heard you say God, I heard you say this years ago, God is in everything, even the pills.
Yeah,
It
God's in
changed
medicine.
everything for me. And I was like, yeah, give me my psych meds. I'm not gonna have no shame about that shit no more.
Right, right.
God is in my Abilify. So
Right. Well,
thank
how many
you.
stories in the gospel are about demons being exorcised, being chased away? Uh, my pharmacist is my exorcist, and God bless her. You know what I mean? So yeah, you don't have to carry those monsters, carry those ghosts around when there is a whole industry, medical industry, that can help you get rid of your demons.
And there is a whole slew of resources and things available. If you are struggling with pandemic fatigue, there's all kinds of resources. I'm going to put some in the show notes. Durrell, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you
I love
joined
you
us
so much.
today. I love you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
And
having me. This has been so much fun.
yay, follow Durrell. Make sure that you check out everything that's happening at Sunshine Cathedral. And thank you so much for being here.
Bless you.
Bless you. Well, guys, that was my first episode. Woohoo! We got one in the, what do they call it? In the box, in the bag, something like that. I don't care. The point is, we did it. We got through our first episode. And I'm so grateful to my guest, Reverend Dr. Durrell Watkins. I'm so grateful to all of you for watching and listening. Please feel free to share this, comment, like, subscribe, wherever it is you're watching or listening to this. Please come back next week. We'll be here at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, not Easter, 9 p.m. Eastern. And it was a pleasure. Thanks for joining me on Fun, Faith, and Fuckery with Nikki Bailey. Bye, guys.